Hi, Stanmore Children's Service. Rabbi Zeman here. I'm so sorry that we don't have children's service. I don't know who's going to miss it more, you or me. I think me. I think I'm going to miss it more not being able to do children's service. So I thought what we'll do is a small series called What Would You Do? Where I'll talk a little bit about the week Sedra, and then I'm going to ask a question about what would you do, and you can discuss that at the Shabbat table. So, this week's Sedra, it starts off with Joseph's in prison for something he never even did. He didn't even do anything wrong, and yet he's chucked into prison. And Pharaoh has a dream, and he has a dream that there are 7 fat cows, and there's 7 thin cows. I don't know if it makes different sounds. Anyway, and the 7 thin cows eats up the 7 fat cows. Gross. Yeah. And then he has another dream that there are 7 ears of corn. You know, when I was young, I was wondering, what ears of corn? Or ears of corn? Like, what? What? Well, has anyone here had sugar puffs? If you have sugar puffs, they're like the cereal. Okay, so those are grains. Those are called ears of corn. There we go. Now, he had a dream that there were 7 ones which were fat and 7 ones which were thin, and the thin ones ate up the fat ones. How can ears of corn eat up other ears of corn when they don't even have a mouth? I do not know. But either way, that's what happened. And he woke up, and then he asked everyone, what does that mean? And he asked all his advisors, what does it mean? What's the message mean? And they're like, you're going to have 7 daughters, and they're going to be skinny. They're going to die. He's like, no, that's not what it means. You're going to have 7 apple crumble. No one had a clue. No one knew what it was all about. And then the butler said, oh, I remembered. There was this Jew who was in prison, and he could tell the dreams. Shall I get him? Go and get him! So they pulled Joseph out of the prison, and they put him into finery clothes, and he's right in front of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh says, can you interpret dreams? And Joseph says, well, I can't, but Hashem can. Maybe if you tell me the dream, maybe Hashem will give me the answer. And Pharaoh tells him the dream about the cows and the ears of corn. And then Joseph says, oh, well, that's quite simple, actually. What it means is there's going to be 7 years where there's going to be loads of food. Loads of food. That's the fat cows. And then there's going to be 7 years where there's going to be a famine. There's not going to be any food at all. Those are the thin cows and the thin ears of corn. And the famine's going to be so bad that you won't even remember about the time when there's so much food, because it's going to be really, really bad. And Pharaoh says, oh, what are you going to do? And Yosef says, oh, well, what you want to do is actually you want to build big storehouses and collect up all the food. And that way, during the famine, we'll have plenty of food. Ta-da! And Pharaoh says, that guy's a genius! Genius! Right, everyone? Make it happen. He's in charge. Do whatever he says. He is second in control of Egypt. Nice. And Joseph was taken straight from prison. Now, whoop, he now became second in charge. And he told everybody to start in the years of plenty, when there's food, get as much food as you possibly can and start bringing it into the storehouses. And they filled up all the storehouses filled with food. Now, in the land of Canaan, which is the olden days way of saying Israel, there was a famine. And everybody had to come to Egypt in order to buy the food. And now the story is that Joseph's brothers come down to Egypt. They meet Joseph. He recognizes them. They don't recognize him. And then he decides to test them to see whether they've actually done teshuvah, whether they're sorry for selling him when he was younger. He's not trying to get revenge, like, oh, they were nasty to me. I'm going to show them now. I'm going to be mean and nasty to them, my horrible brothers. It wasn't that. It was rather he wants to see whether actually they're going to become good, and whether if one of the brothers get locked up, whether the brothers are going to say, nah, leave him, or if they're going to look after him. So he did a test. Now, we got to the bit of the story where I'm now going to go in a little bit more detail, and then we got the question. Here we go. The brothers in the land of Canaan, actually, in the land of Israel, they actually had plenty of food. So when everyone else around had no food at all, they still had food. Interesting. So now Joseph's father, Yaakov, says to the brothers, everyone else around doesn't have food, and you've got food. You know what? What do you think that make people feel? They might feel jealous. And therefore, we don't want people being jealous of us. So I want you to buy food even though you don't actually need to buy food yet. Interesting. And from here we learn something called what's an ayin hara, a bad eye. And it means this, that if you have something that someone else doesn't have, you don't want to make them jealous about it. If you've got a special toy, if you've got a special, I don't know, if you've got a toy or a book or something which is really good, or let's say you've got an incredible voice, or you're really artistic, don't want to show it off to other people, because if you show it off to other people, that might make them feel sad. And that's what's called an ayin hara. That person will think, how comes Daniel's got it, that good voice, and I don't? That's not fair. And therefore, we learn the principle, we learn the idea of not making other people jealous. Here now is my question, and I'm going to ask you, what would you do? This is a very, very difficult question, and I'm not even sure what the answer is. Imagine that you have an absolutely incredible toy. Now, I'm just thinking what that toy can be. Depends on what that toy is, but let's just think of an example. Let's imagine that you've got a radio control, you've got a control car. Okay, no, you've got actually one of those, what they called? They fly in the air. You've got, why can't I think what it's called? Flies in the air. It's called, what's it called? What's it called, anyone? Drone, thank you. My son's listening to me. It's called a drone. Imagine you've got a remote control drone. Now, it's absolutely brilliant. Should you bring the drone to your friends, let your friends see it, and they can play with it? Or do you think it's better to not actually let your friends see the drone at all so they won't be jealous? So here's the question. Do you play the drone with your friends, which means you've got something which is really good, and all your friends are like, whoa, that's amazing. Do you let them see it, but then you say, let's play it together, let's share, and enjoy it, and I want you to also enjoy my toys? Or do you actually choose, I'm not going to show it to them because I don't want them to be jealous? Bit of a toughie one, that. What would you do? And how about you discuss that at the Shabbat table? I hope you all have an awesome Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and we'll do another one of these. Adonai lama Shem alach, b'terem kol yetzir nivra. Bye.